Welcome everyone to our Cuddle Expo online. I'm so excited that you're here joining us. It means a lot that you care about the practice and that you just care about cuddling going out into the world in general. I am so excited to introduce you to Robert Kandell. Robert comes from so much experience and also has sort of an insight into the cuddle world. Hailed as part football coach, part loving dad, and part slightly crazed drill sergeant. I love this. Robert has spent the last 16 years helping people to re-energize their lives and build better relationships through more honest and authentic communication. We're really lucky to have Robert with us today. His unique experience is like sort of the perfect intersection between heart-centered and outside of the box practices and also these like really super concrete, super great business skills. Robert built a successful consulting firm in San Francisco, and then he took his business acumen and co-founded, listen to this, One Taste in 2004 with Nicole Dadone. And after that, he took on the challenging task of bringing conscious sexuality into the mainstream market. And he built the company from scratch and built it to a high 7-figure international corporation. He left One Taste in 2014 to start what he's doing now, which is his own consulting firm, helping small businesses become marketable and profitable. He's also an accomplished teacher, coach, and lecturer. And he brings his enthusiasm and his acumen to this great weekly podcast called Tough Love. And it's all about subjects around relationships, intimacy, communication, and gender dynamics. So let's welcome Robert. Robert, take the floor. I'm going to turn off my camera, and it's all you.
Thank you so much. It's really fun being here. Just remind me, is it 60 minutes or 90 minutes today?
It's 60 minutes today.
Okay, cool.
You got a little extra time if you go over.
Okay, I can keep to my timelines. I'm very glad to be here. Very glad to be talking to people about business, about the concept of being a solopreneur, having your own business, which I know from firsthand experience can be really challenging. So I'm just, first off, if you're thinking about starting your own business, I think you should say hell yes to yourself and congratulate yourself in terms of what you've been doing, because it is a challenge to go from putting your energy and faith into someone else's business, but then taking on the responsibility, not only for your own livelihood, but maybe for people you employ, your family. It's a big step, and really to give yourself some congratulations around that is just in itself great. So I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this will work. I've never quite used Google Slides before. And then can you see my slides? And then let's present. Okay. Can you still see my screen? Someone say a yes.
Sure, we can.
Okay, great. All right. So this panel is called The Basics of Your Business. I've also called this presentation, this is about the 5th time I've done it, called Conscious Entrepreneurship. Maybe the subtitle, All the Things You Don't Want to Do by Rob Kandell, Live Through It 101. And it's really just about the basics of how to start a business. And so I can go as granular based to the details of starting, to the energetics, to the emotional stuff, and we'll see where this goes. So I'm going to be watching the chat. And if you have any questions or, some general questions about business at all, please pop it in the chat and I'll steer the talk toward your questions. I really want to make this for you and what your needs are specifically as possible to make this as powerful. Okay, so the format of the talk, I'll do my introduction. We're in the middle of, and my cred, why you should listen to me. If you want to put down your questions via chat anytime, it's really grateful. I'll be talking about the definition of conscious entrepreneurship, what these two words mean together. You might know the word conscious, you might know the word entrepreneurship, but you might not know what it means when they're together. And the slide I have on this might surprise you of what I mean by this definition. Then the challenges of being a solopreneur, solopreneur meaning a solo entrepreneur, which most of you might start off as, starting your own business by yourself, holding all the pieces of the pie and how to do it. my keys to success, things that I work with every single one of my clients, the basics, and then the basics of setting up and running your business from a legal and financial point of view, just some key little elements that'll hopefully add some value when you're setting up your business. Okay, so why am I here? How did I get here? Why do I like to talk about business? The main reason is I've been born and bred to be a business entrepreneur. My father was very young, about 26, 27, when he became a partner in an accounting firm in the late 60s, early 70s. And then he took that business from, I think it was a 6 or 7 person shop, to when he retired at the ripe age of 45, probably a 90-person shop during the heydays of the 80s and 90s. And so I was really born into an entrepreneur family, and I think those genes are inside of me. I was a paper boy on Long Island back in the day when they had paper boys. For those who don't know, or paper persons, what that was is your newspapers would be delivered to your house by a kid. And the reason I say this is because even as a kid of 13 years old, there was some part of me that knew that I wanted to do it different. I wanted to do it better. And so I had surveys for my clients. I found out when they want their money collected, where they wanted the newspaper, what time they wanted the newspaper, how I could be, the best paper boy ever. There was an enthusiasm. I kept track of my money down to the dime of how much it cost me and how much it took to run the business and how much I made. So there was this entrepreneurial spirit from the very beginning in terms of how to take my business from something else that someone else is doing and making it better and better. I went to college. I had my first corporate job in San Francisco, Transamerica Building, suit and tie, in 1996, working for a finance firm, IPOs and big marketers and traders. Did that. And then I went to Burning Man in 1998 at the ripe age of 28 and basically etch-a-sketched my entire life. Everything I thought I was going to be, everyone I thought who I was going to be, totally etch-a-sketched in that 4-day time in the desert. I assume most of you know what Burning Man is. If not, it's a festival in the desert where people really go to party, to play, to find themselves, to do art, to do drugs, to explore sexuality, to find out to kind of what's going on. And for me, as a yuppie, a white bread, a vanilla yuppie at 28, it was a huge opening. So I came back to San Francisco and really headed my life in a different direction. And then in 2004, started One Taste with Nicole, based on a paper napkin sketch. Really no business plan, no idea what we're doing. She had enthusiasm. I had some skills. I sold my house in San Francisco, financed One Taste, opened up a center in South of Market, and just went without any idea. And One Taste took 8 years to turn profitable. So let me say that again. Our business, which was what I like to call a blue ocean business, there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy that you might want to check out or absorb or do some YouTube videos on. Basically, blue ocean is you going to create a business outside the well-fished waters, which is called red ocean, where all the sharks are. And so you go and look and find a new kind of business and attract people to your business. The advantage is there's not a lot of competition. The challenge is that we had to create a whole industry. I know Cuddle Party back, which opened about the same time as One Taste, was also blue ocean at the time. A bunch of people getting paid to cuddle. What ridiculousness is that? And Reed and Marsha, I believe they started it, really brought it forward into what it is today. And the same thing with One Taste. 2014, I left One Taste and moved to Los Angeles. I was basically a little burnt out, really ready for a life change, and moved to Los Angeles, Venice Beach specifically, the only place in the world I could imagine being. I started a business in 2015 called LA Mother, which was a part event space, a place for empowerment of women, a place for something we call Girl Sweat, which was a workout for women, parties, our own party. It's called the Catnip Club. It was like this epic idea, and I was really excited. I started that in 2015. I started my podcast later that year in 2015. And then LA Mother crashed and burned a horrible death in the end of 2016. And I say this with pride now, which you might hear in my voice, but at the time it was one of those life horrible situations. It was my ego, my heart was breaking, my bank was breaking because of this business. And now on the tail end, 14, 15 months later, I look at it as one of my biggest life lessons, because I had the major epic success of One Taste and the major epic failure, quote unquote, of LA Mother, which really grew me as an entrepreneur. And so the ability to look at both success and failure is a really important piece when you want to be an entrepreneur. You want to look at what's really working, and also don't shun or non-confront your quote failures, because often your failures will actually teach you more than sometimes your successes. And now I've been running my business and life coaching business since 2014, and I have a six-figure business helping businesses. I also do writing a book called Unhidden, a book for men, and a bunch of other things. So I don't rest on my laurels ever, much to my wife's chagrin. Okay, so the first thing I want to start off with around conscious entrepreneurship is that there's this book called Tim Ferriss, great guy. I had the chance to meet him once, called The 4-Hour Workweek, which is a myth. I don't actually think Tim Ferriss has ever worked 4 hours in his entire career. I think he's worked many, many, many hours. And so many of us want to be at the beach with our laptop and be our own boss. And I can tell you that it's a myth. Running One Taste was a 70 to 80 hour ordeal for close to 10 years. I kid you not, pretty much nonstop for 10 years. One of the reasons I left was my body was kind of breaking down because of it. And if you want to own your own business, it's going to be harder, more time consuming, more ego destructing than if you work for someone else. You might look at your current situation and think, well, I don't have my autonomy. I can't be who I am. I can't communicate. Well, every aspect of you is going to be challenged if you want to go off on your own. And I can tell you, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my entire life. And it's almost impossible for me to even imagine working for someone else. So I want to give you the challenging side and also the positive side, so you have a really strong balance between the two. So the definition of what is conscious entrepreneurship, and my definition is simply, you actually know what the bleep you're getting yourself into. You actually take a look and be aware of what you're doing. And I can tell you, most people don't. They do not take the time. They don't do the work. They don't do the self-examination. They don't set themselves up for success because they don't have a conscious relationship to the entrepreneurship. They're really just saying, I want to do this. And it's enthusiasm run amok. And the challenges of it is pretty daunting. So this talk may sound like I'm starting off on a negative, trying to be a bummer. And maybe even you might feel like I'm trying to scare you. And I'm not. I'm not trying to scare you, but I am telling you that it's good to raise your consciousness of what it means to be an entrepreneur, to really put your boots on, to look at that business plan you haven't written and write it, to know that it could take 4 or 5 years for your business to support you. And what are you going to do for those 4 or 5 years? To have really specific thought before you go in. So when you do become an entrepreneur, you have a level of consciousness. We have a question on the chat board for Brianna, who talked about the fear of being visible. Fear of others will think about me if I'm really visible of my new business as a professional cuddler and self-transformation type coach. That's a great question. I mean, One Taste, our main product was orgasm. We sold how to have a better orgasm for both men and women. Talk about some challenging marketing and how to do that well. And when we started One Taste, what it was is we actually had, that's Kyle on Brianna's computer. Thank you, Kyle. When we started our business in 2004, we had a 3,800 square foot center south of Market, 7th and Folsom, and we had 7 business units. We had a cafe, we had yoga, we had meditation, we had a store, we had private events, we had public events, and we had the orgasm business. And we actually put, because of our fear of other people's viewpoints and taking it seriously, we put orgasm into the back corner. It was sort of the door in the, metaphorically, of course, it was the door in the back of the place that you had to know the secret code to, because we were really afraid of people's fear. And for the first 3 years, we hid behind other ideas and different formats. We did a university type model where all these teachers came in and taught things. And then we're really about relationships and connection and really about love. But it really wasn't who we were. Many of us were even in relationships, let alone teaching about relationships. And so finally, 2012, 8 years into the business, we finally said, screw it. Let's just be who we are and let the chips fall where they may. And that was the only time our business worked, is because we finally took the masks of who we are. So this is not a statement you should vomit who you are in the world. I'm saying you should be who you are, but also speak to the people's listening. Before you get in a conversation about cuddling, ask them questions. Find out what they're interested in. And if you have fear about what other people are thinking, do the internal work to mitigate your own fear, to really look at who you are in the world and where to go. I just got a note from Faye about a question on the Q&A box. Just give me a second and let me bring that up. I don't think I have that on my screen. Too many windows. Okay, I'll find that. Okay, so the keys for your success. How do we do the keys to your success? Let me just finish this. Sorry, guys, give me 1 sec. I'm looking for, there we go. Where's my Q&A box? Okay, maybe people just chat into ask your questions in the chat board. That would be better. Let's do it that way. Okay, so back to our presentation. Okay, keys for success. Here are what I teach my clients. You're getting my $300 an hour rate for free. Keys for success. The first thing is to have a realistic understanding for your industry. This is huge. This is really important. You want to really look at who's doing what you're doing, why they're doing it, what their success is. There's this thing called competitive analysis that people think on some level is challenging or shouldn't do it or shameful. I say embrace competitive analysis deeply. And here's even the next step. If you know someone who you think is a competitor and someone who is interesting, then what I would recommend you do is you actually invite them out for coffee or ask them for a phone call, jump on Zoom, have a heart-to-heart, ask them questions. More often than not, people are more than willing to share their experience because people like to share. So the more you go into it, the more understanding you have for your industry, the more you'll know. And you guys are really lucky because you're in a community and this expo is designed as a way for you guys to pick each other's brains. And there may be some questions you feel shy about asking for whatever egoic reasons in there. I think actually use them. Go for it and really use the brilliance of the people around you so you can get as much information as possible. The more you understand your industry to the best of your ability, the more success you'll have. The second thing is this concept of a business plan. And I'll go over this in more detail in a second. Business plans might have a negative connotation for you. It could be that it seems daunting or I can't write one. That might be the words out of your mouth. I can't write a business plan. I've never done that before. And I'm going to come up with a format for you to write a business plan, which I think is really helpful. And the reason I know this is I did not do this for one taste, and we spent years figuring things out. So now I teach people to do their business plan. And a business plan is not for a bank. It's not for a lender. It's not for investors. It's for you. So you can get all these ideas that lie inside your head and out on paper. And once you have it on paper, it's something you can go to and revise and ground in. Because the worst thing that'll happen as an entrepreneur, especially as a solopreneur, is, oh, what do I do next? And if you write a business plan, if you have this idea, it'll make things easier. The third thing I recommend is enough cash for an appropriate runway. A runway is defined as the time it takes from the moment you have the idea for the business to when the business pays your entire bills. So it's the length of time besides, I want to be a cuddler, into I no longer need to take money from savings, live on my credit card, have my parents support me, go for a loan, have that second or third job. And that runway could be as short as a month. That runway could take as long as years. Like I said, in one case, it took about 8 years of a lot of loans and a lot of living very cheaply in order to survive, and a lot of volunteer labor. So having enough cash, the worst thing that can happen is if you have a 1-year runway and you run out of money after 11 months and you no longer can pay your rent. You don't want to be thinking about your rent when you're in the throes of success. So making sure you have enough cash to take you from concept to support. The right foundation is the fourth key of success. And what the right foundation is your support team. And this could be something as like a bookkeeper. It could be a marketing person. It could be a life coach. It could be a business coach. Or it could be a romantic partner who's cheering you on. It could be your fellow cuddlers who are in the same situation, and you have a Slack channel where you're all sharing ideas and concepts. It could be a 12-step program that are supporting you and rooting you on. Whatever it is, make sure that you have a solid foundation, because as a solopreneur, you're stuck often with this solo, I'm in this alone, why won't anyone see the depth of the pain I'm in? You're in that place. And to have a really solid support team is extremely important, especially in the first couple of years. My lady Morgan, my wife Morgan, is a huge member of my support team who's constantly reminding me of what I can do. And she pushes me. I mean, she's like, I think it's time to write the book. I'm like, I don't want to write a book. She's like, I think it's really important for you to write a book. I'm like, I don't want to write a book. And her being there for me and just loving and approving me through the process is a huge piece of my success, is having that right success team, support team. Next is the ability to figure out what to do when it goes wrong. What happens if it goes wrong? Let me just tell you this. I'm just going to give you a spoiler. Things are going to go wrong in your business. If you had a different viewpoint, then I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I'm sorry to end the movie with who did it, who killed who. But in the movie of your business, the spoiler is something's going to go wrong. And in fact, many things can go wrong. And if you don't think that, you're going to be taken aback. The strongest thing you can do when you're preparing as part of your business plan or part of your realistic understanding of the industry is to what's called mock up. What are you going to do if something goes wrong? What happens if you have someone who complains? What if someone who, sorry to go right to the gut, but what if there's a sexual harassment moment in your cuddle party? What happens if a woman feels abused by a guy and the guy's like, what, are you crazy? I'm doing everything right. How are you going to mitigate that? What if there's legal issues? In your mind, not to scare you, but to support you. Start to think about what I'm going to do if something goes wrong, and use the vast experience in other cuddlers. Hey, did you ever have a problem where someone talked about sexual harassment or verbal harassment? What did you do? What are your protocols? Do you have people sign stuff? Can I see your release form? Et cetera, et cetera. Take the time to really look at damage control before the thing actually happens. And the last key of success is patience and intestinal fortitude. Patience is pretty obvious. Intestinal fortitude is the strength inside of you, your core muscles, your ability to go on the ride, the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur, and really find that strength, because things are going to go up and things are going to go down and things are going to go left and things are going to go right. And your ability to stay cool, calm, and collected and aware is a really important part of your success. and your ability, again, to have the support team to talk you off those ledges. This is never going to work. It'll work. It's never going to work. It's going to work. The ability to have that is a really important piece of your foundation. I'm reading Faye's question. I'd love to hear more about how to get more comfortable with calling what we do business. It's so easy to get into the wanting to just do good and feel uncomfortable about self-promoting or asking for money. Okay, don't give me away. That's a future slide. I will definitely get to that. Okay, thank you for the question. And I'm reading Bruce's question. Cuddle training provides a standardized approach to how to conduct many aspects of business. It's a franchise-like model, a common building challenge for individual colors. It's following best practices to communicate their offering and build clientele. Okay, similar questions. Got it. Okay, slide. Okay. The modern business plan, or maybe it's called the Rob Kandell business plan. By the way, I assume this will all be available to you, so I'm sure Faye will pass it on to you if you need it. So here are the pieces of my business plan, what I recommend. The first is the business executive summary. This is what I do in one page. It can be a page and a half, it could be two, but you want this tight. You want this really strong because you're going to meet hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in your life, maybe tomorrow or the week or the month, depending how you live your life. And when people say, what do you do? If you say, I'm a cuddler, and you don't have the exquisite, powerful elevator pitch, that 15-second to 20-second description of who you are, then you might lose not only a potential customer, but most business, especially unless you spend a lot on marketing, is done by word of mouth. And if you have a powerful thing like, I provide a space for people to get the touch in our touch-deprived society so they can feel their bodies, they can feel connected, and they can do better at their job, or be a better parent or a better mom, or whatever your ethos is. But you want this to really nail this, and you want this as short, and you want this as a one-pager, because if you don't know what you do when you're in those situations trying to explain it, you're going to lose your audience. So to know, the first page is always your business executive summary of what you are. This is what I do. Okay, what are you going to sell? That's number 2, also known as products. This is what I'm going to sell. This is where I make my money. To Bruce's point, question is best practices to communicate their offering and build clientele. You need to know exactly what you sell. You need to know the details of it. You need to know, I'm selling a month of cuddling for this amount, private cuddling at this amount. If you buy 5, you get the 6th one for free. You want to know what your products are. You want to know what they cost. You don't want this to be nilly-willy. You want this to be really solid. Because again, when you're in that conversation, when you're meeting someone might say, oh my God, that's amazing. What does it cost? And if you're like, well, I got a special going on, and if you buy kind of tomorrow, then it's this amount, and you'll lose the audience. You want to feel right about it. You want to feel solid about it. You want to know what you really are. Now, this business plan will evolve over time. It'll rise and fall. It isn't like you write this in 2018 and don't edit it until 2020. It's actually something you can learn. So you can constantly evolve your business plan, but you want to start with your baseline. When you raise your prices, it's challenging, but you can always offer discounts on your products. Or even better, instead of lowering the money that you charge for your products, you can offer more value. You can actually say, well, normally it's $200 an hour, but if you come this week, the extra gift is you get a special pillow. I don't know, whatever it is. The point is, know what your products are. The next thing is, what does it cost to produce the sale? What's the cost of the sale? And is that you need to rent a room, you need to do laundry, you need to pay someone to clean your house once a month or twice a month or every week or every day. What is it going to cost to sell that product? If you sell a product for $100 and it costs you $105 to produce it, well, that's a negative cash value. Your cash flow is negative because you're actually spending more time. Don't worry so much about you and your time as part of cost of sales. That'll come later. But really think in terms of, what's it going to cost for me to produce this? Do I need to pay for more training? Is there a professional thing? Or, do I need to spend 25% to get a lead? Am I have an affiliate model? Know the cost of your sales. Number 4 is marketing. How are you going to sell it? How are you going to get it out there? Is it going to be all word of mouth? Is it going to be Facebook ads? Is it going to be an email list? Are you going to do talks at all the local, massage parlors? Like whatever it is, like look at out there, how you're going to sell it, how you're going to get the word out. Because if you don't think about marketing in your business plan, you can have the best product in the world. If no one knows about it, then you're not getting anywhere. Now, here's another tip. Don't over-engineer your website. You can spend months tweaking your website. Don't do that. Build a website. You always need a website, unfortunately, but you always need a website as a calling card at a minimum. People engage significantly more now with social media, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest. Pinterest, surprisingly, has the highest monetization of all the social media currently. Instagram is currently more popular than Facebook. So there's all these changing dynamics. My point is, don't keep spending days and weeks and months of making your website perfect. Spend more time being out there in the world on social media, adding value, sharing your experiences to attract people to your website to buy. And always have a way to convert interest on your website or through your social media as a way for someone to get in touch with you. There's nothing more frustrating of learning about something and going to a website and having no idea how to send money. And that happens over and over again. Okay? So pay attention to your marketing. Put this into your business plan. How are you going to get these concepts out of your head into the world? The 5th thing is competitive analysis. We talked a little bit about that before. Go out there and look on how other people are doing it. Learn lessons. Steal from people's websites. It's totally acceptable to take your favorite ideas from 6 or 7 websites and build your own. Go out there and look what you truly love. This video is great. This had me want to do it. Go and actually look at what other people are doing. The 6th thing is how you're going to produce it. Your operations. You have a sale. A person's coming to get a cuddle. How are you going to do it? Look at your space. Is your space good enough? Is it private? Are you worried about security? How are you going to clean the sheets, et cetera, et cetera? We had a massage parlor at One Taste, and we didn't have a way to do the sheets. And so we were constantly running out of sheets and running back and forth to this place called Brainwash to get the sheets done. And it was a pain in the ass. And a lot of times we knew we had a massage coming at 1 and we were doing the laundry until 12:45 and the stress. So the point is really dial in your operation. So when you do have money coming in the door, people coming to visit, they'll feel your professionalism. They'll feel your calm and actually have a great experience. And the last one, which might be the most challenging for you, is the concept of the forecast. The financial forecast. And in terms of business, you want to be able to look forward for the next year or 2 years, figure out how much your expenses are to run the business, your cost of sales, how much marketing is going to cost, come up with your expenses to run it, then figure out how much money you need to take home, put that in the 6th month or 7th month or 8th month, and then figure out how much you have to sell to get there. And this could be a very simple Excel spreadsheet. This could be a really challenging Excel spreadsheet. If numbers scare you, you can hire someone to build a forecast. I'm a little on the expensive side, but there's other people out there that can build this for you. Really get your business plan solid. Because like I said, if you don't know how much cash you need, then it becomes challenging to survive out there. So build a forecast to know how long you need to run to make money. And lastly, which might surprise you, is your exit strategy. Do I want to be doing this for 20 years? Is this a 5-year hobby? Look at and really be honest with yourself. And you might not know, but take a guess. I really want to do this for 5 years and build up a clientele and then hire people, do all the cuddling. And then eventually I want to hire a manager. And then I want to be a CEO of a Cuddle Chicago and I really want to go play golf, whatever it is. But actually imagine in your business plan your dream for your exit strategy. It will help you go forth in the business. One, it'll give you sanity that you don't have to be in this place forever. And two, what you do is it gives you space to look forward. Someone, Keeley wrote, say this is overwhelming to someone getting started. Which of these points do you go to first? The first thing I would do is your business plan, and I would do it in the order of what I wrote. That's why finances are last, or second to last. Really start off with your business plan and start off with your executive summary to ground you in what you're doing and what you want to do. When you write your business plan, it is the most important piece of your key to success, because then you know where the direction of your business is going. Okay. And if you're overwhelmed, what do? You go to your support team. They remind you that you're awesome. They remind you that, oh, maybe I know this guy is really good with Excel and he can help you. And maybe you can barter a little Cuddle for some Excel work. Who knows? The point is don't freeze in your tracks. Really take the time to build up this business plan, which will enable you to get to the next level. And if you really get stuck, send me a message on Facebook and I'll reply and say you can do it, and just push you back in the game, because that's what I often do. Okay. Everybody, give me a little breeze with me. I've been speaking pretty much nonstop for 36 minutes. Maybe you want to shake up your shoulders a little bit. If you have your little blankie with you, like Faye, give a little snuggle and know you're doing it right. Okay, the most common roadblock that I've seen is sales. And I think this was alluded to by Bruce and a little bit by Faye. And just know that you're going to have to sell something to run a business. Without sales, your business dies. Or without sales, your business never starts. And the hardest piece about all this is your this part of you that thinks you're not worth it, your psychology. And like, oh, I'm going to be a bother to someone. Or really look into that part of you that's afraid of offering a service. And if you know your service is worth $100 and you're like, oh, I don't really trust myself, and so I'm going to charge $50, look at the psychology, that gap of $50 from 50 to 100. Really look inside of yourself, because you have to sell yourself. And people are going to buy you. For some of the bigger products, the bigger corporations out there, I buy these Tull pens. They're my favorite pens. I don't know who invented them. I don't know who produces them. I just love the pen. But on our end of the spectrum, we really buy each other. We buy our energy. We buy our presence. We buy our availability. And if your psychology is blocked, it's going to really affect your business. And my favorite Tony Robbins quote is, the success of the business is based on the psychology of the owner. It's true. And I've been doing my own business for 16 years. I've been helping other businesses now for about 3 years. And I often just go to the psychology. And I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. So I was working with this woman, and queen is like the best word that was possible. It was like, she's a queen. She presents as a queen. She has queen energy. And her business could not get to this certain level. And so I'm a life coach. I'm a business coach. We moved into the life coaching piece. I got into her psychology. And after about 45 minutes of talking, she said, I know what it is. It's that my nuclear family, my birth family, is at a certain social strata. And I'm going to start to make more money than they've ever seen in their entire lives. I'm going to make more money in a year than they've had in savings from their entire life. And I'm afraid if I succeed, then I'm going to get disconnected from my birth family. And when she said that, her face relaxed. We talked about some strategies to ensure that there's connection, how she would present it and how she could talk about it, who she could be. And then after that, her sales doubled in a year. And I'm not saying it was me, we're saying it was that session. It was her psychology. When the entrepreneur is open and expanding and growing and flowing, then the businesses tend to open. If you're depressed and tight and arguing with your partner, or sad or depressed, the business tends to shrink. So if you're looking at your energetics, if you're looking at the business, look at your psychology and look at where you want to expand and grow in order to have your business expand. The success of the business is based on the psychology of the owner. Okay. I'm going to go over these on the quick side. I want to finish the next couple of minutes, and then we'll go to questions. I want to leave at least 15 to 18 minutes of questions. So I want to give you some really business basics that are available. So the first is you need to think about how your business is set up legally. The simplest and the default is called a sole proprietor. A sole proprietor just means that you're working by yourself, and you have to do a Schedule C, an actual form on your 1040, and you can look at your business expenses, your phone, and you actually declare your business on your personal tax form. One step up from that is called an LLC, a limited liability corporation. And what that is you register with your state that you're a limited liability corporation. It's a minimum of $500 to $800 per year, depending on what state. California is $800. And then what this does, the difference between a sole proprietor and LLC, is that you have protection. If someone gets mad at some business action, the LLC will create a level of protection between you and your personal assets. Without an LLC, if someone sues you and you have personal assets, they can get there. They can sue you for your assets. Then there's corporations and partnerships, which are steps up and more complicated, more powerful, depending on what you want. Make sure you register your business with the federal, state, and city, depending on your level of business. For example, the sole proprietor is not federal, but the LLC is. You need to get a business license for your city or your state, depending where you are. They'll find out. Most cities are very good at noticing. They'll find you on Facebook. They found my office in Woodland Hills, and where's your state? Where's your city license? I'm like, oops. So they will find out. So just know that. Business basics is keeping your books. My mentor recommended the first person you hire as a bookkeeper. Make sure you know how much you're making and how much you're spending. Know what your bottom line is. And if you don't, you're really running your business blind. I'm looking at my numbers constantly to figure out how to improve my business. I am a math geek, granted, but constantly look at your numbers so you have an awareness. Insurance and other requirements, the worst thing that can happen is if you have someone over your house and they trip and fall and they sue you, you want to have insurance. I know it's expensive and I know it's challenging, but the flip side is you need to protect yourself and protect your personal assets. So insurance agents don't charge unless you buy something, and they take usually their stipends off the insurance. So go and talk to an insurance agent and really get some protection for yourself. Creating a forecast. I have an example. I'll get that to Faye, who can send it to you. So you can take a look at that. And trademarking, legal docs, and protecting your IP. IP is intellectual property. I don't know if you need to do this when you first start, but really have an awareness that at some point you may want to protect what you're doing, your uniqueness. Putting copyrights in blog articles or on your website. Just do some really basic things to protect, because you might be coming up with some brilliant ideas. If you don't protect your IP, then what can happen is you're left out to dry. So take the time to protect who you are. Okay. I think that's it. Slide. Okay. I'm going to hand it over to Faye. I don't know exactly how you want to do this, but open it up for people asking questions.
Yeah, if you have a question, you can type them in the chat. And if you put a little asterisk on there, that lets me know that you're open to asking that sort of in person by turning on your microphone and or your camera. I can invite you as a panelist, and you can do that. Otherwise, you can just drop it in the chat, and we can just answer it there. Perfect. There are so many of us here today. I'm so excited. Keely, did you have a question? All right, cool. I guess I have one for us, Robert. And okay. It's so uncomfortable. Like, I know, you talk about the psychology of it, and it's so uncomfortable looking at this as business.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend to sort of get over that hurdle of like feeling that this is this thing that is so, it feels so foreign sometimes when we talk about business in the context of the things that we do, which is so heart-centered.
Yeah, I really get it. If you don't charge money for it, it's called a hobby. If you do charge money for it, it's called a business. So you have to decide. There's nothing wrong with having this as a hobby. But if you want to make a business, you have to take the psychological leap inside of yourself to build that self-esteem, to build that self-worth in order for you to go to charge, because it is hard. It is hard. People say no mostly for time and money. And you have to face people's resistance, but you mostly have to face the resistance inside yourself. So the first thing I would say is, look at, are you providing value to that person? If you provide value, it's an energy exchange. You're providing value, they're paying you money, the energy exchange is your value for their money. And you might not know what the value of your service is. That's okay. You don't have to know out the gate. You can learn as you go. But you do have to get over that psychological piece to think, I am worthy. I'm worthy of charging and worthy of being rewarded for my time. Okay, I got a question here from Robin. What are some of the out-of-the-box ways to market our service? First off, I would recommend a Facebook group. Got some really bad feedback there. Thank you. The first thing I would recommend a Facebook group called Traffic and Copy, which is run by a guy named Vincent Clancy. And he is an incredible growth marketer, a total crazy Brit. He wears his big flags and winged shoes. And I've learned a lot from him. He has some really great programs and some really good free stuff in Traffic and Copy of growth from that website. Some of the things I've been doing is really just thinking in terms of how can I give more and more of my value to get back attention. So I did my podcast. My podcast I've been doing for 2.25 years now. I have 118 shows. I've made, directly from that, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 in terms of, direct revenue from that. And the response is, it gives me cred, it gives me energy. And so create a podcast, do Facebook Live, write a blog a day, create a inspirational quote, look outside the box and look at things that you think will add value. Give away your services. I've done a lot of pro bono, especially in the beginning, of giving away my time and energy for me to perfect my skills and for me to have more confidence. So that's another thing you can do.
We have, so Robin, did you get your question answered, you think? Did you have any while you're here? I want to say hi and give you a big wave. We have Yoni here with a question, and I think I will unmute you. I think that's for me to do.
Here I am. I unmuted. Mm-hmm. Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for your talk. That's
my pleasure. My pleasure.
I'd like to hear your pick your brain and hear your 2 cents about the complexity of having a cuddle business, and well, maybe this is a branding issue, but basically having a business that is non-sexual but is touch related, and so culturally people associated with sexuality. Mm-hmm. And sex is enticing to people. It's sexy, but it's also scary for general crowd. How did you handle that with One Taste? And if you have, One Taste was specifically had sexual activity, even though it's not portrayed as such. So I'd love to hear your 2 cents about what would you think about branding cuddling and how to explain to people that this is non-sexual, even if it does have sensual relations.
Mm-hmm. First is I would find out what it is for you. Like, what has cuddling done for you? What are the advantages? Why do you want to be a professional cuddler? Look at those specific things inside of you that turned you on and changed your life. That's the first. Sex sells. There's no question about that. And One Taste was genital based, but we didn't call it a sexual practice. We called it as a way for you to feel your body. But we did say learning to own and learning to touch and learning to feel did make you a better lover. So it was the gateway from someone who doesn't know how to touch. And so maybe that's a good marketing thing. Like most women think men don't know how to touch that well, and they're not really open to learning. And if you're like, come learn and be a professional cuddler so you can learn how to hold and feel and know when to stop and feel your body, so you could use it as a pathway.
So you're talking about sexuality without saying the word sex.
I'm saying you can do whatever you want.
For sure.
You can do whatever you feel is authentic inside of you. And you can say on your website, this is a non-sexual practice, but this will teach you to touch, which will probably make you a better lover. That's a good sales aspect to it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And also, really just say, brand it. This is not sex. This is a gateway to sex. Maybe something like that.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Yoni? We have Sarah on here as well. I wanted to allow her to ask her question. I don't know if we saw that earlier, but she had put it in the chat. I'm going to unmute.
Snuck one in there.
There you go. All right, Yoni, I'm going to take you off here. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is about what are the benefits or drawbacks of setting yourself up as a nonprofit? Do you know any about that, or who should I talk to about that?
Okay. I've set up 2 nonprofits in my life.
Okay.
And my information though was antiquated, to be honest, and it's changed a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. The main thing is when we started One Taste, we actually wanted to be a nonprofit, and then we went to a lawyer who focused on nonprofits, and they basically laughed us out of the office. They're like, "There's no way the government's going to make you a nonprofit." And so the thing is, they would talk to a professional to find out what the qualifications are to get approved as a nonprofit these days. That would be the first thing. There's also something called B Corps, which are relatively new, which are called benefit corporations. A new thing where it's for the benefit of good, and there's some tax breaks around that if you want to go the nonprofit route. The main benefit of nonprofit is you don't pay taxes on the profits of the business. But if you're a salaried employee of a nonprofit, if you say draw $50,000 a year from a nonprofit, it's still taxable.
Your salary is still taxable.
Your salary is still taxable, right?
Okay.
So unless there's the best benefit of a nonprofit is you can get donations. People can donate goods, people can donate services, and then they get a tax benefit. So the best, I think cuddling, you might be able to get in as a nonprofit. Like I said, the rules have changed and it's much simpler now. So the main benefit is people can give you money for free.
Yeah, I want to be able to help people that can't afford, the $80 an hour as a cuddleist. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
I like it. Pleasure.
Thank you. All right. We've got a question here from Jamie. I've moved you to panelists. I'm not sure if you want to start your video or not, but I'm inviting you to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to say goodbye to Sarah here for a bit. And then we have one question from Janet. How are we doing on time here? And also another one from Kyle. There. Okay. Hi, Jamie. Did you have a question for Robert? We can read it as well.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Let's see. I just wanted to ask, as far as finding a balance between planning the business, bookkeeping, and the actual practice itself, because I know it can be overwhelming on both sides since it's such a invested opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So the question is, how do you balance it all?
Yeah, what would you suggest as far as balancing it out? 50-50, 80-20, et cetera.
That's a really great question and a really hard one to answer, especially when you start off your business. It may be harder for you to do a business plan or write a forecast or manage your books. And it might be difficult. You might spend more time. And so you do need to find that balance between building your foundation and then also promoting it and doing the work yourself. And that's, like I said, being a solopreneur is a challenging piece. Someone like a bookkeeper, you can get good bookkeepers for 30 to 50 bucks an hour. And for your business, that might be worth the 2 to 3 hours per month it would require for you to handle your books. You hand them a bunch of receipts or get something called a Spensify and just manage it for them. So it might be good to look at the leverage of if it takes you 6 hours to do your books and you can pay someone 70 bucks to do it, it might be a good investment. You might want to leverage your time. But the real answer is, you're going to find out, especially in the first 6 months of your business, and it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be hard. Well, I shouldn't say it will be overwhelming, but it's likely to be overwhelming. And that's okay. It's the fun of it. It's the experience of it. And just know you're doing it right. Keep going and ask for help as much as possible.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. We are inviting Janet on here. I'm going to unmute you, Janet, or I think you might have to do that yourself.
Myself.
There you go.
Okay. Oh geez, you know what? Now I'm panicking. I don't even remember my question. Oh yes, so I'm curious from your perspective with One Taste and all the work that you've done. What do you think our challenges are for what we do?
I think all entrepreneurs face the same challenge, the internal battle. So I'd love to say it was something outside of you, but really it's going to be you. It's going to be your own demons. It's going to be your own fear. It's going to be your own scarcity. That's the thing, is the hardest thing to face. The second thing outside that is just educating what I called this blue ocean strategy, or this new book, Blue Ocean Shift, where you are on some level creating a new industry. Now, it's much more well known now than it was 10 years ago, but I'm pretty sure in many circles, professional cuddling is a new. So you're going to have to take time to make sure that you explain it, or on your website explain it with a video or writing or wherever it is. Speak like they're a drunk 5-year-old. Of course, you don't want your 5-year-old to drink, but just imagine they're drunk. I had a web designer say, just imagine they're drunk when you're building your website. Make it really simple. Don't take any shortcuts. Make able to follow the thread of where you want to take them. Because as you're explaining something new to them that's going to blow their mind, you now have to get through their own skeptic manner inside of them, but to open up their wallet to say, I never thought I'd pay for cuddling. But then they try and like, oh my God, it feels so good. So first the internal battle, and second is the education.
Thank you. All right, we have Kyle here with a few questions. So I think that's all the time we have. So we're going to end on your questions here before we move on. I believe I might have unmuted you. There you go.
Hi, Kyle.
Hey, Robert. Thanks for this.
Sure.
I'm trying to remember my question. So, if I wanted to get a lot better at public speaking or speaking in general, I found joining a group like Toastmasters, if you're familiar, that's been awesome for me. Are there groups like that, especially for me, like in-person groups that you think are great to join to become a better entrepreneur, especially like a kind of personally branded one?
Well, Toastmasters is pretty much the go-to we practice. I had a friend in Los Angeles. I'm not sure it's everywhere, but he went to a improv class. No, he taught a storytelling class. So it was actually, they learned to tell stories in the class, and the end of the class, everyone did a presentation, which was great. I think improv is a huge part of my teaching. I learned from improv. So improv classes are really great, learning to speak on the fly. I also really recommend see if you can get to be guests on other people's podcasts. I have my own podcast, but I've been a guest on 50. I actually employ a podcast agent to get me on other podcasts, and that's had me double my downloads in the last couple of months, is really being out there in the world. So any place you can speak and learn, I think is great. And those are some of the specific things I recommend.
Thanks.
Sure.
Wow, we are right on time.
Efficiency.
Yes. Thank you very much for your questions, everybody, and for just Robert. That was such a huge download and a gift from you. Thank you for being a part of our expo today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. How do we find you? And what can we do to stay in touch with you and see what you have to offer?
My slide is up there. I have 3 sites coming. Oh, actually 2. Kandell Consulting is my business consulting site. And then toughlove.live is my current podcast site. Tough Love will be merged into robertkandell.com, which will be my author site. So either type in toughlove.live for the podcast or robertkandell.com. They'll go to the same place, and you can find more about me. There's a free consultation on there if you want to chat. I'm glad to help. If you just want to talk, if you need some slides or anything, please let me know. It's an absolute honor to be here.
Was there the name of the Facebook group that had the marketing ideas that you mentioned?
Traffic and Copy.
Okay.
And Vincent Clancy is the guy. He is a kook, but he is awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Robert, I just so appreciate your time. And thank you.
My pleasure.
Will you hit the next slide? I think I have something going on, and then I'll take over. Sweet. Just really want to take a time to thank our sponsors. These are people who really care about the industry and who are here as our support system. So we've got certified cuddlers, Cuddle Sanctuary, Holding Space, Cuddlist.com, and Cuddle Comfort. Thank you very much. We can say goodbye. We're going to hang out here for a meet and greet in a moment, but we're going to let Robert kind of have the rest of his afternoon. I know he has
Thank you.
a crazy day. Thank
Crazy
you.
day. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.